It's a short piece that I think you might find helpful. Feel free to take one of those away and take a look. If you have any questions after this, please contact me. There's some contact information at the bottom. Again, my name is Britt Sang with the Civitas Group, and I appreciate your time.
Well, I want to thank all four wonderful speakers and presenters. And instead of just moving right into the question and answer and discussion period, how about, you've all been very patient for an hour, how about if we just take a slight break? You've heard a lot of information, a lot of great, I think, strategic advice, actually, in terms of how to think about development. So now's an opportunity to follow up with all of the speakers on particular items that they were talking about, other issues, and yes, Bob.
Hi. Bob Medline from Madisonville Community Council. You guys look like you're all doing a great job. We all, I think, have communities that have an existing residential base, and I guess we would, I know I would like to have some ideas on how we handle maintaining people that already live there, that we've kind of made a promise to. We're not going to run them out because a lot of wealthy developers are coming into the neighborhood and recreating the whole thing. How do you combine that, keeping people in their houses and creating something on the level that walkable community that you're talking about? Do you have any ideas on that? Small question. We're looking at Bobby.
Well, I was guessing that I thought that might be one of the first questions or something thereabouts, because, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually wrote something down that I wanted to talk about, and I thought it might come up, and that is, how do you treat affordable housing, and how does affordable housing fit into this whole conversation? What I would say to neighborhoods is that resources are king, and don't, be open to tools. Don't close your toolbox. We need every resource that we can get. Affordable housing, we believe, can be an economic stimulus if it's done correctly and done right. Number one, a lot of times that means reducing density, which doesn't necessarily mean moving people out. A lot of times there's natural attrition or other properties in the same neighborhood that you can work on. There are lots of ways to do that. Number two, recapitalizing buildings and making them indistinguishable from market rate quality housing. The second piece of that, part and parcel, is managing the property with strict selection criteria. That's the way we see things. We're doing a project in Avondale right now in part of the Burnett Avenue revitalization, that whole corridor, where we've got commercial, residential market, and affordable housing. We're taking a Section 8 affordable housing building and changing the profile of it through reduction of density and completely changing the way the building meets the street. Today it's bricked up, boarded up. We're going to do a complete gut rehab, and folks will be allowed to come back who are in the building, but they're going to be given strict guidelines on how they're going to, what's going to be expected at the property. And anyone new to the property, there are very strict selection criteria of getting in. But again, I think that they're not mutually exclusive issues. You can have affordable housing be an economic stimulus. One of the things I would say is, and I think Scott talked about this, the residential is going to subsidize the retail. We don't underwrite to the commercial rents. We didn't do it in the Gateway Quarter, although we're doing it now in the third phase because we've seen such success. We didn't do that at first because we said we would rather have them empty than put another corner mini mart in. We would rather have it empty than put a cell phone store in. And so for us in Avondale, we are going to completely change the profile of the street because we're going to open all the storefronts back up and be very picky and choosy about who we put in. We can either give them great rent if they're good neighbors, or no good rent, put that money back into the neighborhood, or lower their rent.
Before we leave that point, those of you who have made the trips to Nashville have seen a building called the Icon in the Gulch which is about a 21, 22-story residential building, 418 units in it, something like that. What I understand about that building is there's a parking deck, structured parking, that is wrapped with apartments, and then condos stack on top of that. The condos sold for $340 a foot on average, which is spectacular. What's underneath that in those apartments apparently are low-income housing tax credit apartments. So if you want to think about a different way of approaching a solution to the market, that's really out-of-the-box thinking, and the market absorbed that fast.
Can I add to, add the Bobby story, because I am Avondale, represent Avondale.
Well, you're already adding to Bobby's story, so yes, why don't you introduce yourself, Bill, and add to it.
My name is Bill Whitten, and I'm with the Avondale community. The best way to do that, and we have, it's a problem. You've got to convince your community that that developer is going to do what they say they're going to do. And that's hard. It truly is. And sometimes you have to go, and what we did in Avondale is we went and looked at some of the things they had done in the Gateway Corridor. And it was actually saying, if he does it and he stays true to his form, and we as a community hold him to his promise, then we're okay. They are doing what they say they're doing. And it's hard because Avondale, as you know, is one of those communities, a very transient community, high rental, Section 8, what is the other one? CMHA housing dominates the rental portion of the community. Low, very low home ownership. But they are looking to do what they say they're going to do. So you need to get in a partnership with them. But it's hard to convince your community that they are really not going to push everybody that lives there day out. But affordable homes, and Bobby him articulated it to me before, a hard one for me was, you shouldn't ride down the street and say, Habitat, Section 8, this guy owns this house. And what you need to do is get with all the people in your community to say, how do we change this look? We meet, and I just did this with Habitat and said, how can I help you improve your quality of your product? And dictate what goes there, or have some input on what goes there. Oh, we're going to continue to do that with Bobby. I've got to call the work with. But the community, changing that mindset is the hardest thing. That you got to do it, and you believe in the developer, you got to take the sword for the developer. If you really believe. If you don't believe, you need to say, I'm going to get out of it. You got to take the sword for the developer. I step up and say, I think they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And if they prove me wrong, I'm moving out of Avondale next week. But I got faith that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And you walk that bridge hand in hand. And the community needs to go to the residents and say that. So we're going to do some things with them on the property as well. There's Section 8 people in there, and they're terrified. When you say developer, you say they're changing. Well, I know, we're going to do some things to change that. So you have to change both perceptions. One is the people who currently live in the area, and those that you want to come to the area. That's a real double-edged sword. But you got to walk it, and you got to take a sword and say, hey, I'm willing to die for this because this is what we need to do. If you can't do that, get out of the way.
Thank you.